And then you know what the 26th is, Braylon?
We are on location.
No, it's not. The 26th, Michigan,
Ohio State.
Yeah. You going to Ohio State?
To be determined.
To be determined.
To be determined.
So I bring it up for this reason, because my juices got flowing a little bit yesterday.
What got you going?
Jim Harbaugh on one of the podcasts had this to say. Let me put it up for you. This is the tweet from Zach Shaw. Jim Harbaugh on Inside Michigan Football's radio show. Here's the quote for you, ladies and gentlemen. Quote, "Our time is now. Our time wasn't last year. It's not next year." End quote. And yes, the head coach says the team is, quote, well aware that Michigan faces Ohio State in 18 days. Now, 17 days from now. This is something that gets my juices flowing, right? I mean, this is a coach that knows his team better than we know his team, better than you know his team, better than the experts know his team. This is a head coach that knows the kind of football team he has. And he is saying something that I hoped was the case a couple of weeks ago when I said, I think Michigan can win the national championship. I think this team, Jim Harbaugh, believes he's got a national championship-worthy team. It starts with a win at Ohio State, which would be Michigan's first there since Drew Henson quarterbacked the Michigan Wolverines in 2000.
That's amazing.
I'm 43 years old. Michigan has not won in Columbus since my junior year in college.
I'll do you one better. I wasn't even in college then. That was my senior year.
Wow.
It was my senior year. And that was actually, it was my senior year.
I don't know what the spread is, Maz. I think you said a couple of weeks ago it was a double-digit spread,
I think
like 10 points.
I think it's down to 10. I think at one point at the beginning of the year it was 2 touchdowns. Mm-hmm. Then it went down to 12. I think it's down to 10. I think by game time it'll probably be 9.5, maybe 8.5 by then. But was it Jim's first year that they played that 3-point game with the Ohio referee? Was that?
No, that was his second year.
His second
2016.
year. So that was as close as they've gotten to winning in Columbus. Am I correct?
In Columbus, yes.
Well, and that was a hell of a game. I expect the same type of game like that one was.
Listen.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
I was going to say, Bray.
You're excited. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I love this man. I love this comma, man.
Right. I got you. You love this atmosphere.
I love this. I love the attitude. I love the confidence. Build confidence in this young team. Tell them they can go win at Ohio State. This is not a rebuild situation. This isn't something where you got to wait till next year until Ohio State comes here. No, go win this thing there and win a Big Ten championship, man. Got to get it done. Love what Harbaugh's doing.
Yeah, you got to really appreciate Harbaugh. Like if you pay attention to the arc that has been Harbaugh from when he first got into the University of Michigan, he talked about every game is just another game. No game is more important than that game. That's the game. That's the rhetoric that he gave us as fans for the better part of 5.5, 6, 7 years, 6 years, and he changed that tune last year. He talked about how much the Ohio State game meant last year. He talked about wanting to dominate that game, win at home for his fan base, and win the Big Ten championship. He was vocal about that. And what happened, Ryan Ermanni? Got his guys riled up. Aiden Hutchinson, David Ojabo, Hassan Haskins, Blake Corum. They have the game of their lives. Michigan dominates, they win. They lose to Georgia, you come back. We reload after everything happens. They're winning. It doesn't matter how they're winning. They're finishing games, and in the second half of games, they're destroying everybody. And now he's like, you know what? I'm going to double down on what I said last year and what it would mean to beat Ohio State, and that's the goal. Now I believe we're in a situation where we can win the national championship. You know what that does to a team? When a team hears you say that out loud, when a team hears you say that out loud, a team is like, that's what I'm talking about. Now let's go back him up. Now let's go back him up with our play. So I'm excited that Jim Harbaugh has that energy. That's that BDE energy, man.
What did I tell you a few weeks ago about Harbaugh? This is the Harbaugh we've been waiting for. Mm-hmm. It started last year. Remember what I told you about that Michigan State trouble with the snap game?
The soul of Jim Harbaugh left his body.
It's back, and it's better than ever. This is the coach that we all thought was going to win for Big Blue from day one, and he's here now.
Yeah, and that's exactly what, when you made that comment, I was the one to say, you know what, you're right. And actually, this is the best version of Jim Harbaugh I've ever seen in terms of him adapting to younger players, to younger coaches, changing his policies so that his players can feel comfortable. One of the big things they talked about last year is the open door policy. players felt like they were heard. They didn't feel like it was his dictatorship where he's just do. He's like, hey, what do you think about this, Samuel Steele? What do you got going on, Andrew Anthony? Are you getting open on this play? Like, he's listening to players. Now he has the confidence. He's instilling the confidence in these guys. They know they can beat Ohio State. You know why? Because he did it last year.
Right.
Now, granted, it was at home. Granted, there was a different quarterback. And granted, they got to go down to Columbus. This team is better than they were last year at this point. Statistically, chemistry-wise, together, they're flying around. That defense last year, it was a good defense. Obviously, David Ojabo, Dax Hill, Aiden Hutchinson, they're the catalysts on that team. Josh Ross. But this team flies around. Like, whenever there's a tackle to be made, 5, 6, 7 guys are around that ball when they're trying to get a tackle. Guys are trying to get the ball out. Guys are running in the secondary. Guys are all around. One of the biggest things that has hampered Michigan against Ohio State, they couldn't run like Ohio State, and now it seems as though they've caught up and made it even.
You touched on something that I want to explore a little bit further, and that is that Jim Harbaugh seems to be treating this game differently than when he first came in and really was at Michigan for years before it really seems like this thing got under his skin. And it was a turn last year. Right, I mean, the 2020 game that was called off from COVID and all the jokes about, they just didn't want to hang 100 on Michigan and this, that, and the other thing.
That was the low point.
That was the low point for him, and it was at that point that he started seemingly on the outside anyway, I don't know what he was doing on the inside, but on the outside he was outwardly talking about this game a little bit differently than what we've heard in the past.
Yeah.
I think after they lost to Michigan State last year, for the first time, Jim Harbaugh talked about that Michigan State rivalry differently this year than he has in the past. At least that's how I feel about it. And again, to build this Ohio State momentum, I think is good for this program. And look, Jim Harbaugh took a shot at Ryan Day last year when he said, some of us are born on third base. That was a clear, direct shot at Ryan Day, and he wants to continue that. He believes in his team, and I just can't wait for this game.
Hey, what you said yesterday, Bray, still sticks with me.
Yeah.
As good as Michigan is, and as good as they look like they're going forward, they better take care of those wide receivers
100%.
going forward.
100%.
Otherwise, you're just going to be a running team, old style, Big Ten, and it's going to die out. You need to feed those kids.
100%, because they'll hit the transfer portal and they'll get out of here and go to other schools. But the big thing is, this is when it really turned around, Ryan Ermanni. I'm going to tell you like this. 2 years in a row, Ohio State hung 50 on Michigan. One was 56, the next year was 59. And then the next year was COVID year, so they dodged the bullet.
62 and 56.
I cheated them out of 6 points total.
118 points in 2 years.
56 and 62. That is a butt whooping like no other. 2 years in a row. Then you get COVID. You catch a break. You don't have to play them that year. They said they would have hung 100 on you. Probably would have. Then you get to reassess. Jim Harbaugh, who am I? What do I want to do? Why is this not going my way? What am I doing in my coaching skills? How am I not approaching this the right way? Where can I make a change? And he sees that he's not approaching that game the right way. So he puts emphasis on it the next year. Michigan State happened last year because he's still thinking like, you know what? If trouble with the snap doesn't happen, I'll win that game. If I was a little smarter in the rain game, I'll win that game. A couple bounces here and there. So he didn't respect Michigan State's win.
They're not better than us.
They're not better than us. It's still the little brother mentality until last year you lose again. And then you realize you lost Mel Tucker's first year in COVID, and you start to look like, you know what? These both are the same level of preparation, the same level that they're above the other games on the schedule. You got to look at Michigan State, especially as way they have been whooping Michigan's butt. You got to look at that game the same as you look at the Ohio State game, and that's how you have success. So I'm happy to see that that's where his mind is now, because now the players can feed off that. If you're treating it like another game or a regular game, players are going to have the same energy. Mm-hmm. But if you're doing something different, if you're bringing former players in that week to speak every week, every day that week, you have a former player come in. You have him tell you about the rivalry, where he was at, what he did, what the rivalry meant to us, what does Michigan mean to you. You start doing things like that, you build the game up, man, you have these guys ready to go, man, like literally on Tuesday. You don't have to get till Saturday.